The following podcast features terrible jokes, usually about board games. Like those jokes your dad tells that make you groan. Yeah, those kind of jokes. Accordingly, Boards and Swords and the producers must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Is it okay if it's okay if like when the bread touches the fries?
Do I really want to just stand still and cast a lightning bolt? No, I want to avoid you and shove a lightning bolt at grass.
I just crapped my alien pants. By the way, I just want to let you guys know.
You hate all of us, and we're fired.
I've released poison into the AC system. You all have about 5 minutes left to live.
So much news, like all this stuff to talk about.
No, there's been some stuff, but it was all boring.
You didn't go with C.
Well, you need to go with C.
And our friends, we combined.
You've told that story.
We combined. Have I told it on the podcast?
I'm pretty sure
you
told
have.
it.
Well, I'm telling it again.
Because I just realized as I was reading this that this game's already been done. They even made a show about it. It's called Yu-Gi-Oh! And go watch it.
This is Boards and Swords.
Hey out there, everyone. We are live. This is Boards and Swords. This is a podcast where we've got bad jokes, we've got good folks, and we've got some tabletop games here as well. I'm one of your hosts, scrambling to put this whole thing together. I'm Chris Renshaw, and not only do we have our normal co-host here, Mr. Philip Herbig, but we also have Rich from ROKMinis.com.
Hey guys.
Welcome, Rich, to the show. And Chris, normal? Is that
Normal for this show.
okay? I mean, the other guy who's always here, who's not also normal, Philip.
All right. So, real quick, Rich, before we jump into the news, why don't we give us a quick elevator pitch for what it is you do?
Well, yeah, now I make toy soldiers for a living, which is pretty awesome. I have set up my own business, making mostly 3D printed miniatures for a variety of games, mainly focusing on the small scale at the moment. It's all sort of 6 to 10 millimeter, so that is your classic epic through Adeptus Titanicus and up to what was War Master scale. Most of these names are now defunct Games Workshop games from the past, but 3D printing has brought them back. So I'm putting together miniature packages, game sets, really trying to grab that old school nostalgia of buying a big old box set of models and getting, 2 armies and a whole load of terrain to fight over. And it's been an interesting venture to go full time from a very stable and reliable job to doing this, but. Now or never, right?
Yeah, you've already got Rusted Beetle in the chat room excited, going, "Oh my gosh, 10 millimeter terrain!"
yeah, got quite a few options for 10 mil, so it's gone down well. I've gone to a couple of trade shows now, and people seem to find the idea of being able to play a full-sized war game on your coffee table and store it away in a very small box as quite an appealing thing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Rich is also one of the co-hosts of the Floorhammer podcast, which I got to say is definitely one of the best Warhammer shows that I've seen, mainly because, I was looking at Warhammer podcasts, okay, this one's, way too serious, and then this one's, super talk competitive. I don't know any of this thing, but, the light take on the grim dark, as you say, is, just my speed.
Yeah, we had to not do it seriously. We're not serious people in general, and it's great that some people do take the hobby seriously, and that's great for them. But for us, it really is just throwing dice and having fun. So yeah, we try to capture that, which is why this is a great matchup, I think.
Well, I can promise you that I will not play any random clips, audio clips that have been generated. Or promos for your audio clips promoting your website. But we are gonna test your Warhammer knowledge later in the show.
Well, you already know that's lacking, so that'll be great.
All right, Philip, I think it's time to jump into some news. Alrighty. So, I spent forever typing out different Marvel jokes to try for this next story. Man, my fingers are Thor now. So, yeah, I warned. It's at the top of the show. It says bad jokes. But new Marvel board games are coming from Lords of Waterdeep co-designer and Rap Gods creator. So that last part was the big reason I put that on here. We had Omari Akil, I don't know if you remember, Philip, for like Hoop Gods and Rap Gods like over a year ago. He's going to be now doing a Marvel board game for Wizkids. So I'm going to skip actually the Age of Heroes one because that looks cool and all, but that's not the reason I picked this story. So the other Marvel-themed board game set to be released by Wizkids is Marvel Damage Control, designed by Omari Akil, the creator behind the storytelling card game Rap Gods and the two-player board game Hoop Gods. Marvel Damage Control presents players with the unique tabletop game premise of managing a cleanup crew for Marvel superheroes.
Nice.
I like that in the sense of it's not like the standard, like, your Marvel heroes are doing all these things. It's something different. Rather than battling against the roster of villains threatening the city and Damage Control, players are tasked with cleaning up the mess left behind after the fight. As players shift through the wreckage, they'll be searching for whatever strange and alien objects they can fit in their respective vaults. So you're basically the Vulture in this game from
That's what I'm
Homecoming.
hearing. Yeah.
Well, it even says here similarly to the Michael Keaton's Vulture character in Spider-Man: Homecoming. So yeah, that. Go ahead.
I had no idea this was coming. Really not kept up to tabs on board games per se, but the fact that they mentioned Lords of Waterdeep got me very excited. If it's from the people who made that game, you know it's going to be good.
Yeah, and I see high-tech boards here with like standees and stuff for the other game, Marvel Age of Heroes, and yeah, Lords of Waterdeep's great. I even saw also Tyrants of the Underdark. That's the other board. I guess the same person that designed that. So Philip and I know that game pretty well.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. I don't have a joke for this next one because there was no way to do it properly. But they put lead designer of Vampire the Masquerade 5e, but this is like a very important guy. Kenneth Hite is a big name in the RPG industry. Like, I'm pretty sure he even does a podcast called I think it's like Ken and Robin Talk About Stuff that's gotten like multiple Emmy awards and different award things. But he was shot on the streets of Chicago. So, lead designer of Vampire the Masquerade 5e under White Wolf Publishing was shot in the leg. So as of this, he's fine. Was shot in the leg as he headed home after 3 a.m. on January 6th. According to his social media post, he was walking home from a co-working session, which was only a block from his house, when a car pulled up and two men with guns jump out. Words were exchanged, and Hite took off running before the two men could react. They fired off 4 or 5 rounds in his direction, one of which hit him in the leg. The assailants then jumped back into the car and fled the scene before they could be arrested. So, lots of well wishes sending this way, but I recognize the name, and it's, like I said, calling him just the lead designer of Vampire the Masquerade is very much underselling the point here. I'm pretty sure he's done other things as well. I'd have to look them up, but I know I've seen that name in other RPG books. So, also the way that's phrased, it makes it seem like it was something personal. I don't know, like the way that people like jumped out of the car and talked with him. That doesn't seem like a random mugging to me. That's just weird.
It is.
So, anyway,
reading his Twitter post, I do like that he has, he's in good spirits. He's like, hey, if you're in the market for a gunshot wound, I'd recommend this one.
Well, that's good to hear. So, I thought it was important to mention, but hopefully he gets better or he recovers soon. Anyways, getting back into the jokey jokes. There should be a Disney park in Canada because there it would always be Snow White. There we go. In August 2022, Ravensburger announced that they're making a TCG called Disney Lorcana. Well, they finally released the plans that they're going to do for releasing it from Ravensburger. They plan to release 4 sets of material each year, with the first set being titled, wait for it, Disney Lorcana, The First Chapter. Cards will be published in English, French, and German, with the sets sold in the United States, Canada, and like all throughout England. It'll be rolling out at the game's debut at Gen Con 2023. Following its debut, it will debut at local stores on August 18th. Quote, supported by a robust organized play program. I don't know what that means. I don't know why it's in quote. I mean, I'm assuming they're quoting the press release. Followed by a mass market retail release on September 1st. So, if you love your Disney games and you once had to fight off magic and you didn't think you get pulled back into that kind of thing, this looks like it might be for you. They got a bunch of starter sets here. I'm seeing Sleeping Beauty and oh man, I'm having
Cruella de Vil, Pocahontas, Maleficent,
yeah,
Frozen, and then it looks
Simba.
like
There we go.
oh yeah, Simba. Okay,
yeah,
because they're multiple packed. Yeah.
Yeah. So the starter decks look like
old school Mickey too.
Yeah, that's like Fantasia Mickey. And what was that?
You get to mix up the various Disney laws together, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, because it looks like I'm seeing symbols on the side.
Yeah, it looks like colors in Magic. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Or
sure
maybe
does.
each character corresponds to like a different color kind of thing. And then it looks like there's... So they're also going to be sold in a gift set that contains 4 boosters, game tokens, 2 foil game cards, and oversized... Oh, they're going the Pokemon route with the oversized cards.
Yeah.
The first set, you're going to get Mulan, Imperial Soldier, and Hades, King of Olympus. I just hope we get like Star Wars set, because that would be cool.
Oh, that'd be sweet. But if they're mixing stuff up, it would have to be like Anakin Skywalker, but he's like just in the
Pod Racer.
Yeah, just in the pod racer.
They're not gonna have him murdering children.
No, he didn't. He didn't go Jedi. Like, he's still Force sensitive, but he's not trained. He's just the best pod racer ever.
Oh, looks like they've also got a box that you can get. That's the Illumineers Trove that consists of 8 booster packs, 2 deck boxes, and a player's guide. Ooh, this is like your fat pack, I think.
That's
this
what
is
I'm reading,
just like Magic / Pokemon
all over again.
Disney, right?
Although
I'm also catching Kingdom Hearts the card game.
Yeah, that too. Yep. I'm feeling that.
Why didn't they put that on there? Surely that would be a license to print money. Well, it already is because it's Disney, but like referencing Kingdom Hearts would set the internet
I think
ablaze,
if they did
right?
that, that's more money that has to go to like Square, because there's
yeah,
probably
for
like
Final Fantasy.
there's probably like a joint thing there where like maybe they own the name Kingdom Hearts, but like everything else is Disney. So, but I bet you go to a Disney park now, they're gonna have this like everywhere. Or they're going to have it where you can get special cards, I bet, like foil versions. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know it. Somebody said so. Smash up for Magic.
Go on the Frozen ride and get a special Elsa card.
Yeah. Oh man, only if you come to the parks between this month and this month, you can get this rare card. Where was it? I saw a thing in here where there are already people selling these cards. Like, the game isn't out yet. Where was it? I saw it on here somewhere. After a teasing with preview cards at various events. Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah.
I think they handed out, like, promotional card, like a single card. Where was it?
Straight on eBay, right?
Yeah, they just went straight on. They
Scout.
just went straight on eBay. I was trying to find this. I saw the story where they were talking about it. Oh, okay, that's just the talking. Oh, they were talked about it at D23. Okay. Yeah, like their cards are already like huge amounts of money, and it's like the game's not even out yet. This is weird. All right, buckle up because we're about to head into the D&D portion of the news. We could have done an entire news segment talking about the update, or we talked about the OGL updates in the last show, but we've got more stuff to talk about. So buckle up here. If you made a new RPG character and your father was a fantasy creature, would that make you a half dork? So, there's just nothing. That's even worse than the pause. Is just the nothing.
What?
Paizo
I hit a button.
Oh, okay. Well, nothing played.
Oh.
Paizo releases their own open RPG creative license. So that's where the ORC comes from, ORC. So the new Paizo was not taking this whole open gaming license thing laying down. So they created their own system, or not system, but license. The new open RPG creative license will be built system agnostic for independent game publishers under the legal guidance of Azora Law, which is an intellectual property law firm that represents Paizo. And the kind of the big things about this is, so this isn't like a new system. So it's not like they're saying everybody's signing up for this system. It's just like, here's a legal document. You just say your game abides by the terms in this legal document, and then anybody can use it as dictated in this legal document. But the best part is that Paizo has said they won't own the document. So, like, if new management comes in, they can't just decide, oh, we're going to not learn from Wizards of the Coast and screw people over. So there's actually going to be the Azora Law is going to own the rights to the creative license, and then until Paizo's going to set up like a foundation, like they say there's like the Linux Foundation for like those open licenses. So it'll eventually be owned by an independent nonprofit. The law firm will own it now until that gets set up. But there's actually two stories in this. Is that so they started doing this, and now there are 1,500 different tabletop RPG publishers have decided to like agree to this. Like just about anybody that you've ever heard of that's done like RPGs that isn't Wizards of the Coast is signed on to use this new system. So like just looking through here quick, like Chaosium, so that's your like Call of Cthulhu. Let's see. Fantasy Grounds is a virtual tabletop. Foundry, that's another virtual tabletop. The people that do Free RPG Day, Gale Force 9. I didn't know they did RPGs, but Green Ronin I know has done a bunch of different 5e stuff. Cobalt Press was one of the founding people along with Paizo on this. Like Monty Cook Games is on here. Pinnacle Entertainment Group. I'm just trying to see. Roll20 is on here. Yeah, so a whole bunch of people are signed up so far. Like this is only just a sampling. So a lot of people have gotten together. So this I like this. This is good. This is good stuff. Now we go to the other end of the spectrum here. If you hire an assassin to take out someone who writes books, would that be considered deauthorizing?
That's pretty good.
Don't encourage him.
You got it sometimes, right? It's just a little bit.
So D&D was like, oops, we messed up, guys. But so they decided, going like way, nobody saw this coming. On their most recent playtest release, they were like, well, we decided we're just going to do Creative Commons for some of the rule systems. And that was like the big shock, because that's like, there's already several legal documents out there that say, well, you technically don't need an OGL because as long as it's fair use and you don't use like the specific proper nouns that D&D uses, you're fine. The OGL just really protects you from Wizards trying to pull a cease and desist. But now they're like, you know what, screw it. Core rules are going out on Creative Commons. But it is going to deauthorize the original 1.0 edition. So they released their previously promised first draft, and it's a far cry. So this is the actual. So the original version that got released on the internet a couple weeks ago, that was leaked from people that were getting it, like companies that would have to sign it, leaked the document. So now they did their first draft of like publicly releasing their OGL, and it's a far cry from the document that was leaked 2 weeks ago. The popular tabletop games rule will now exist as part of a Creative Commons license, but the older OGL 1.0 will still need to be deauthorized according to Wizards of the Coast. This initial version contained 2 major additions. The core rules composing D&D's mechanics will be moved to the Creative Commons license, effectively removing the company's control over how they are used, and OGL 1.2 will dictate how creators use the non-rules materials from the system reference document. So that piece is like all the proper noun stuff. If you want to make a D&D adventure type thing, this is what you can and can't do. So, yeah, so the practice, this means concepts such as monster stat blocks, saving throws, and what exactly counts as partial cover no longer require any legal capitulation on the part of third-party tabletop creators. They will still retain the rights to all those proper nouns, like I said, cleric, owlbear, magic missile, etc. So this is ultimately Wizards doing the same thing, but only after like all the smoke started. As Rusted Beetle says, you could smell the smoke from the WotC PR backpedal engine. What license will then apply to third-party creation? So there is, like I said, there is going to be an OGL license 1.2 that's going to cover third-party stuff that references Wizards' intellectual property, but the rules pieces will be governed under Creative Commons. Or chances are most of these people are just going to end up using that Paizo's Open RPG license, creative license there. And I imagine that's going to probably be the way that most people end up doing. Which is really funny because the original OGL 1.0A, like the people that wrote that were like Monty Cook. And now he's a part of the open gaming license, the open RPG license. So it's just kind of like the biggest FU.
It's also got a cooler name.
It does have a cooler name.
It's the Orc license.
The Orc.
I mean,
Having
and then
said
like
that,
the group of people behind it, the Orc Alliance. Like that sounds cool.
Just the whole thought of having a structured document that controls and regulates everything and calling it Orc doesn't sit so well though.
Orcs aren't very regulated. That is true. Mike was asking, so third-party creations, do they fall into Creative Commons as well? My understanding is that would be up to the actual third-party publisher. I'm sure someone's smarter than me, but they choose, they would choose the license on their, like anything. If they create a new city or whatnot, they would choose how they're going to license it. My guess is probably most people would use the Orc. And then Rusted Beetles says their focus is still on making Sauron's Lord of the Virtual Tabletops and recurrent spending. Yeah, there was another article I didn't put in here that was talking. There was a bunch of. That was the other thing. There was a lot of D&D Beyond, like, there was a bunch of D&D Beyond rumors going out there, and there was another story talking about, like, no, that's not true, because, like, one of the rules was, like, a $30 monthly tier was, like, the standard tier to be able to do, like, the stuff that you can do now. Yeah. Yeah, I saw, Rusted Beetle talks about, so Jenny D, I've seen her on a lot of like the Wormwood Gaming, the people make the nice wooden tables. She's done some work with them, but apparently she was also she was the one that announced the launch for 5th edition, and she's like one of the first people that was like, ditch your D&D Beyond subs. So, All right. We in just a minute we're gonna get to talking about some terrain, but we have to get all awkward here for a minute, Philip, because this episode is actually sponsored.
It is. We have a sponsor.
That
All right. Right there. Hang on. I had to pull up the screen. I got too many monitors working right now. All right. So, support for Boards and Swords brought to you today by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Recently, they have launched the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, the Performance Package. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping and using the code TEAMSWORDS at manscaped.com.
All right, I'm gonna get a little ballsy here, but
Wah, wah, wah.
trimming that undercarriage is weird. There's just no getting around that. You try not to get too close. You've got the door closed, and like you're just anxious because you're just hoping no one knocks on the door and be like, "What are you doing?" So, just like my joke telling here, I embraced the cringe and tried out the Manscaped package. I'm really impressed. It's a great razor. Inside the performance package, you get their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, and Crop Reviver toner. See, like, I feel like I named these things. This is why, like, people are like, what is this show doing this? But I'm like, if you think about it, this is, like, right up our alley. Performance boxer briefs and a travel bag to hold your goodies. Their 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof. It also has a 4,000 LED spotlight for a 4,000K LED spotlight to you need LED spotlight for if you need a more precise shave. All I gotta say is if you're like me and you've done a whole bunch of walking back and forth between the Gen Con dealer hall and the hotel in the dead heat of summer, you get kind of tired of chafing. It's a real deal. So try the Crop Preserver below the waist deodorant, the Crop Reviver below the waist toner. It will change the way you approach your daily hygiene routine.
And remember, you can get 20% off and free shipping using code TEAMSWORDS at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.
All right. So that was, again, thanks to them. It's awkward. Yeah, I know. But, you know, they have reached out to us. And
actually, I want to try out for, like, game show background hosts now because that was...
You're underselling the LED functionality as well because got a new set of power drills at home, and the biggest upgrade was the fact that one of them came with LEDs, so you can actually see what you're doing. Like, they should focus on that more.
Oh yeah. All right. So back to Rich. So something that we kind of glanced over is that this is a new venture for you, the whole minis thing. Like it was you've been a gamer for a while.
Yeah, just a bit.
How many edition? What was your first edition of Warhammer?
The first time I ever tried playing 40k was 2nd edition, and my friend tried to get me into it, but he didn't really know what he was doing either. So I really did not particularly enjoy that game, but actually started playing in 3rd. But what got me hooked on it all in the first place was actually playing the Final Liberation video game, the Epic video game for like 1997, I think it was. That kind of hooked me into the background and the just ridiculousness of 40k, and then it was only a matter of time before I sunk in when they got the Lord of the Rings license, 2001, I think that was. That was it. I was hook, line, and sinker them. But 3rd edition was good. Current 40k doesn't gel well with me, but that's just personal preference.
So, all right. So then, when did you decide? All right, I'm gonna swap over here.
I mean, it was so I suppose everyone references COVID for just about everything these days, but the pandemic, I think, being stuck work from home, I was in a very office-based job as I have been since I left uni, working in the pharmaceutical industry, and it was very lonely and isolating, and I realised that I don't actually mind working by myself, and I kind of had the
I don't
the
need
hope that one
people.
day I could work for myself. And and then just after the pandemic, my wife got a completely new role in her company and went from a part-time role, because we've got an 8-year-old boy, to full-time. So I kind of had to do the reversal, really,
Right.
and flip to a more flexi working, short day kind of arrangement. But then I thought, well, I've got a little bit of extra time now thanks to that. Maybe I should start sort of making and selling some stuff on the side. That's when I started labeling myself as the terrain creator, because I wanted to start doing terrain. But then I slowly got more and more into the small scale minis and terrain, and kind of wanted to do a big push for it. So I went with booking some trade shows, and as they got closer and closer, I realised I needed more and more time.
Yeah.
To do things properly, because I don't like doing things half baked. I want to make sure things are done correctly, and I ended up deciding to take the sabbatical approach. So the company I work for, thankfully, had a process to pause your job for a period of time, and I took a 6 months break from work, and in that break just sort of went for it, and just gave it all my effort, really. And a few months in, I kind of got to the point where I was like, oh, I can do this full time now, if I take a bit of a leap, and with my wife's support, as it's a joint decision, really. I've gone for it, and in fact, next week will be my last day at my current employer, and my last day employed. I'll be completely self-employed beyond that, so it'll be quite a new experience for me.
That's got to be pretty scary, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is scary to not have a regular salary every month. It's not that part's not ideal, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's a net positive. I'm actually, the funny thing is, like, I'm actually working about twice as much as I used to beforehand, but I actually enjoy the work that I'm doing now.
Yeah, you're never working a day. Isn't that the saying? Like, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, or whatever.
I mean, yeah, it's still work. There's still things that I have to do as part of it that I don't particularly want to do, that are necessities. But generally speaking, I'm feeling a lot more reward. What it is that I do.
Yeah, I'm sure tax time. It doesn't feel like play much then.
No. A funny comment from Rusted Beetle in the chat, actually. I actually work for an American company, or I currently am still employed by it doesn't really matter if I say it's Johnson & Johnson.
Oh, wow.
So, big US corporation, and they have the sabbatical option. I'm not actually sure how common it is in the UK to get that option. So, for me, it was one of the things where it's like, oh, this is a pathway that I can actually explore, and it felt like it would be too good an opportunity to turn down having that safety net for the first X number of months, because I was on a 3 months notice period, so I still had to decide, fairly shortly after going on leave, but it gave me that safety net to kind of, like Nice Guy Mike says, it's a leap of faith, but it was a leap of faith with just a little bit of security underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
To sort of see me through.
It is. It's definitely. It helps that awkwardness of like, I'm leaving. Hey, can I come back?
Yeah. And I have a very good relationship with my manager, where I can be fairly honest about the state of things. So I think she knew pretty early on. It's like, well, I don't want to come back, but that option remains there, because my job stays open. So it's a little less stressful when that's the case.
Leap of faith from Indiana Jones, then.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
All right. So, talking about focusing on your actual products here. So I'm assuming a lot of this, or almost all of this, is probably 3D printed stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. It's 3D printed stuff, and I got into 3D printing during lockdown. One of the many that we had here in the UK, and I realised that okay, it's its own hobby, and all the all the chat of like 3D printing is going to kill Games Workshop and all those sort of things. I think people are missing that it is an entire hobby in and of itself. There's a whole new skill set and space and setup and everything you need. And yeah, I really got into the concept of like you have an idea where you can physically generate that idea in a relatively short amount of time, which is something that's before not been done. And I've always had desires to come up with ideas for minis and things like that, but I've never had the sculpting skill. My green stuff work looks like a 4-year-old did it. Like, it's even the most basics were just a no-go. So I'm very much focused now on curating, I suppose, work done by the digital sculptors, and then I 3D print and put these box sets together.
That's what I was going to ask, is if you made the sculpts, or if you just licensed, or get stuff to.
Yeah. My friend Ian will kill me if I don't point out that the trees that are on display on the small box set that's on screen, I sculpted myself. But everything else is licensed prints. So it is all by digital sculptors who have a paid licensing arrangement. I can lean on Creative Commons stuff, some of it, but I would much rather get it from the source of the professional sculptors, which means that you end up with a much more reliable product when it comes to printing. And you'll see from the screen, I only sell my products based off of physical prints, painted where I get the time to actually paint them. But you'll see a lot of 3D printers will sell off of a 3D render. And for me that wasn't good. I felt that I wouldn't be comfortable clicking buy and having no idea what was going to turn up in the post, and I didn't want my customers to have that same experience of like, well, I guess I'm going to gamble on this. I want people to see what it actually looks like, and what they're going to get. Okay, most of it's unpainted. I do sell some stuff painted as an option, but I want people to understand that this is what I'm actually going to get when it arrives in the post.
All right. So look, now I imagine a lot of the terrain pieces are very, miniature aesthetic, but I know there's some pieces here that's like, rat horde units or dark elves. I'm seeing square bases on these, which
they are. Yeah, a lot of that stuff's the fantasy. The fantasy stuff is the miniatures are actually designed for War Master by the sculptors, which is the old 10mm. System that Games Workshop used to make in the late 90s, early 2000s, which they then stopped supporting. So people of 3D designers have picked up the banner and sort of carried it on. But I also like to play it in Kings of War. So Kings of War is a really good game. If people haven't played it, it's fantastic. My friend and I started doing this, and that's where we're spun off from, and we play using centimeters instead of inches. So there's no maths, which is a massive win. And it shrinks the play area down to the same size as a Warcry / Kill Team gaming area, which is 22 by 30 inches, I think. So that means that you can play a full rank and file fantasy game with dragons and everything on your coffee table. So you haven't got to have a massive 6x4, because War Master needs a 6x4. So
gotcha. That's your standard Warhammer sized battlefield. Yeah, that's Mantic, right? That Kings of War.
Yeah, Mantic for Kings of War. And they're one of the great makers that puts up the core rules on their website for free, and all of their stat blocks for their troops are available for free. You want special rules and extra stuff like that, then you can buy the book to support them. But you can at least try their game without having to buy a bunch of rule books, which is in my for me is fantastic. And obviously I sell a lot of these games as rules agnostic. People can use whatever rules they feel like. One Page Rules does a regiment's rule set for rank and file gaming, so you've got a lot of options really.
So sorry, I got just I got distracted by Rusted Beetle saying "Dead Zone for life."
Yeah, I mean, Mantic are a really good company when it comes to things like that. You know, they make their games approachable by people. They want to sell models at the end of the day and make money because they're a business, but they don't shut the door on people that want to try out their games. They very much set a very low barrier to entry to get in.
So I guess we answered the question because we had Rusted Beetle ask if you sell the STL files or printed only. So yeah, this is only printed and shipped. You know, because
they're printed and shipped. I mean, I will always tell people where these files come from. One, I have to on the listing because that's part of the rules. But if people come up to me and ask me at trade shows, like, "Oh, I have a 3D printer. Where did you get those from?" You know, I want to tell them I want the sculptors to be successful because they've done the hard work to make these models.
Right.
And you know, generally speaking, by the time you've bought the STL files and you've got your resin, if you do have a 3D printer, because printing at this scale does require some more complicated resins for the fact that you don't want anything brittle that's going to break because the things are small. By the time you've gone through that, people are still buying my stuff, even if they have a 3D printer, because I've done the investment, so to speak. But I'll always tell people where these files come from because the sculptors are doing an amazing job. And I don't like printing freebie things. I like to print the paid for stuff because at the end of the day, it's supporting another small business.
Gotcha. So we got another question for us to be: what resin are you using to print this stuff out of?
I use an engineering grade resin. I don't want to share too much information because I've put a lot of effort into getting myself to the point where I've got the resin mix, etc.
But it's not going to be so a little bit more professional than if you just printed them off yourself on a resin printer.
Yeah, you could print them off on the resin printer. You'd have to buy the right materials, and they're not cheap. There are grades of resin. For printing the terrain, I use the regular ABS, like it's referred to, resin made by Elegoo or one of the manufacturers. But for the small scale stuff, it's too brittle. For a large hunk of terrain, not a problem at all. Units with a spear that's like 1 millimeter or so thick at the handle, you need something that's got a bit of flex to it.
Right, but just saying, like, this isn't, you're paying for more than just, than like there's what am I trying to say here?
Yeah, I mean, 3D printing is not drag and drop,
Right.
There's a lot goes into.
You're paying for a professionalism.
Testing. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So now, when you do you mix your own resin? Like, are you Walter White? You've got the respirator and the whole setup
no,
going
not quite
on.
that far.
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, that's not. It's not quite that far. But it's one of those things where it's like I 3D print for a job now. I know how the technology works. I've got a pharmaceutical background. It still blows my mind that you set it off to run and you come back X amount of hours later and there's a physical.
And there's a thing.
Like, yeah. So that was on my screen just now. I know how it works and it still makes me think, wow, that's cool.
It's like Star Trek in my living room or wherever, whatever room, garage.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it in your living room.
I mean, some people like just wearing gas masks around in their living room.
I mean, sure. I don't want to spark the is resin safe debate because you have two schools of you have the people who are like, nah, it's fine, you just drink it, you won't die, and you have some people who are like, if you come within 3 miles of it, you're going to get cancer. Whereas, as with all things, there's actually a bit more of a middle ground.
Mike said,
as Mike pops up in the chat,
no kink shaming here.
I mean, yeah, I mean it's whatever floats your boat, man.
So you were talking about like trade shows and such. So when you go to the shows, are you going to sell things, or are you going more as just promotion?
I mean, the ones I've been to so far have been trade shows. So I have a sales table. And one of the shows I went to, I also had an adjacent demo table, so people could try playing Kings of War. Was what we put out to kind of showcase what you can do with the miniatures. But yeah, I've only been to trade shows so far, and I've got a couple of friends who've come along and helped me out, which has been great. and it's been really good to actually get to interact with people. And
Right.
I think that the tactile nature of miniature wargaming means that people want to pick up the models and have a look. I've got all the painted stuff out in front of me, and the number of people that come up and they're bending down, they're trying to have a look, and I say to them, "Oh, you can pick up and have a look," and they're like, "Oh, I can touch this," and it's like, well, it's a wargaming model. If you can't pick it up and shove it around the battlefield, it's not a very good miniature. So I think people are just a bit reticent, and then once they pick it up, they're like, "Oh, right," and they can have a look at the details and turn it around. And I think that to not be at the shows, with people's chance to come and actually handle the goods, so to speak, I think it would be a massive loss to give up on that. And it's so nice to get to talk to other gamers. You know, Again, I left the previous job because I wasn't happy, but the one element that I did enjoy was always communicating with other people, and I was always working with colleagues not in my location, remotely. So now being able to talk to other gamers and hobbyists and enthusiasts face to face at these events has been really awesome.
So I got Rusty Beetle asked, "Do you have a Formlabs printer?" I don't know what that is.
It's a brand. It's the like engineering grade 3D printers for like the serious business. No, I don't. I use Elegoo Saturns to do all the actual printing on, because at 6 to 10 millimeter you don't need like an 8K resolution printer. So you don't need anything. I mean, the printer that I've got can resolve a printed element the same width as a human hair, which for 10 millimeter scale gaming is fine.
Yeah.
Once you start scaling up to doing like large busts and things that need actual texture, like cloth texture and things like that, then it would make a big difference. But at this scale, it's not a necessity.
Yeah, we got I think 6 to 10 millimeter scale gaming should be pushed for large scale combat again. I see that.
Oh, it's so good.
They're so tiny though. They're so tiny.
But they're all ranked up, generally speaking, or if you're playing a sci-fi game like Epic, they're on their little bases or stands, so it's not too bad to actually move them around, and you get that general ship feel as you're like moving whole detachments of stuff across the table. It does feel a lot more grand, even though the models are smaller. It gives you more of a god complex with the whole thing, I think.
So, trying to think of what else. Any other? Feel free to drop any other questions into the chat. I was just trying to think of anything else. What's the future for the minis that you've got so far?
Well, what's coming up next? So, I mean, obviously, I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, and I've got some shows booked in. I have one in 2 weeks' time in the UK that's quite a medium-sized show, and then in April I've got Salou, which is our version of Adepticon, I guess. It's the biggest wargaming show in the UK. It's their 50th anniversary as well, so it's quite a big show. Quite a lot of people are going to be there. And I've got the UK Games Expo this year as well, which is something like 40,000 people attend that. So I'm actually kind of like that one's got me quite nervous.
Oh, I bet.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal. But I've got some new gaming products coming out. Some products coming out in 15 mil scale of more of a skirmish nature. That I'll be working on and putting up in the next couple of weeks. And I see questions in the chat. Shipping to the US. Yes, I ship to the US. I've got no idea what the VAT / duty is to the US. I think you have to spend something like $600 before import duties get applied, but please do not quote me on that. You have to look on your government website. But yeah, I mean, it has been tricky. Shipping to Europe now costs more money. Thanks, Brexit. We won't get into that.
Yeah.
But actually, it's funny that it's actually simpler to ship to the US than it is to ship to France, which is like, I don't know, like 100
Infinitely
miles.
closer.
It's mad. It's mad. ROK is my initials, Richard O'Keefe. And it tied in with ROK, as in a rock. And my friend did the logo for me, kind of gave things a rocky texture, so we kind of just mashed it all together. It's not out yet, but I am probably this week putting out a reduced scale Gaslands set. So I guess this is first notice of that to anyone who has any interest in that. So you can play Gaslands on your coffee table.
There you go.
I have to. I've signed up with a certain. Talking about the licensing thing ties in pretty well actually. Mike Hutchinson and I think Osprey Games do the publishing for Gaslands. They have a system where you can sign up and contribute a very nominal fee to be part of their licensing arrangements, so you can stick the tag of Gaslands on your products, even though they're not made by the people who make Gaslands. It's pretty awesome. They make it really user friendly.
Friends of Gasland.
Friends of Gaslands, that's what they call it. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Make it really easy.
Sorry, just give me 1 second because everybody's video froze.
Oh.
We got a little ways before. I was trying to keep it on because it seemed like
look,
it was,
except for Chris.
yeah. Well,
It's
that's
very
'cause-
convenient.
well, that's
It's very
because-
convenient. Chris's video is the only one that's working. All right. Chris,
What?
I know where you sleep.
Yes. Remember, no kink shaming. Yeah, I was trying to like refresh stuff, but it does not seem like it wants to work.
No, that's
It's
the
a-
extent of my IT knowledge. That is refresh it and or turn it off and on again.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I don't want to turn the stream off.
Oh heck no, no, that's the problem with that, isn't it? You're locked in now.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a good picture of me. I'm digging it. There's only a slight glare on my head.
Oh yeah, well let's not delve into that too much.
I was gonna say you've got a fellow comrade here for that, Philip.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
you're right,
yeah,
I'm
but
not
like,
sure what's
and
that.
it looks like Rich has done the same thing. It's like it's not that we're going bald. It was a migration down to the chin.
Exactly.
That's
When I decided that this would be my desk setup in this space, because this was, when I was working from home, etc., I did not think about the fact that I was going to be on camera a lot. It's the job that I did have, and obviously now I do. And my light is directly above my head. It is like the single worst placement. Yeah, glare is an issue. Oh, the audio's coming through. Okay,
Yep.
Mike says.
Yep, I was seeing that. I was just trying
yeah,
to.
but Mike, is that a good thing though?
Oh.
It gives you all of this to edit out the podcast when the podcast version
Exactly.
comes out. So enjoy that.
Yep. This is the we're doing it live.
The joys of editing.
Yeah. I've even tried to reset the capture thing that I use. Oh yeah.
Whatever. We'll deal with it later.
Yeah. Okay. I will just throw it on here so at least you can see something there. All right, because we're getting towards the end of the show anyways. But before we do, I have a game show.
How often do you regularly do game show elements?
Pretty often,
Most episodes.
but you
Good,
would think
good.
I would be good at them.
I mean, we all know that. Well, not we all, but many people know that I've been through enough game shows with Dave on the Floorhammer podcast that I feel fine. I don't
Well,
think you can
it's
throw anything
okay.
at
You
me
got
that
You got a
hasn't already been-
50-50 chance of winning on this one.
Oh, I like that. That's
So-
way better odds than I normally get.
Yeah. I'm calling this "Are You Smarter Than a Warhammer Player?" And so
Ugh.
you've got the history with Warhammer, but Philip is he knows the background a little bit. He's familiar,
Okay.
but he's not played the full on 40K game. So, Rich, I'm going to ask you. These are all numbers related questions. I'm going to ask.
My favorite.
I'm going to ask you numbers related questions, and then Philip, you're going to guess is the real answer higher or lower, or is he actually on point?
Okay.
All right. So we'll start off. Somewhat. Does Philip have Warhammer 40K Munchkin? I don't think so. Actually,
Wait, does that exist?
it does exist.
Yeah, it does. It's good.
There's also
Munchkin.
Warhammer Age of Sigmar Munchkin. Philip loves Munchkin. He's already ordering it right now. I can see him
Okay. First off, shut up.
going. So, let's start off with question number 1. Right now, if you went on GW's website for 40K, how many different combat patrol boxes could you find?
Oh no. Combat patrol boxes.
Combat patrol boxes, which these are like
I mean, it's
the
difficult for Philip to guess. Oh, he doesn't even know how many races are in 40k. does he?
exactly.
Oh man, doesn't give me advantage at all. I'm going to say there are 14 combat patrol boxes.
Okay. And the way this is work is if Philip guesses wrong, then you get the point.
Okay.
So, Philip, Rich has said 14 is the actual answer for how many different combat patrol boxes. Is it higher or lower?
Higher.
Higher. That is correct.
What?
There are 23 combat patrol boxes that you could find
Are
on
there like
GW.
21 codexes in 40k? How does that work?
Well, you got to think there's a Dark Angels one. There's an
Oh, sure.
and there's like
Yeah.
I think there's a Black Black Legion and a Chaos Space Marines one. I think I don't remember.
But you already said there was a Dark Angels one.
Yeah. All right.
That's
So that's a point for Philip. All right. Number 2. This is probably I will give you this might be the hardest one on here, but I found this on Bell of Lost Souls at the start of the Horus Heresy. At the start of the Horus Heresy, how large were the Ultramarines? The poster boy for 40k is those blue Marines. How many Marines were in the Ultramarines at the start of the Horus Heresy? Now, for Philip, some context. After the Horus Heresy, the leader of the Ultramarines said, the legions are too big. We need to cut everything down so that not one person can control so much stuff. And he dictated that chapters could only have 1,000 members, and then after 1,000, you were split off into a new chapter.
Yeah,
So
give or
this,
take.
unless you're one of the people that doesn't adhere to him, but in the
So
before times,
First founding was like 20-something chapters, but most of them died during the Horus Heresy. I'm gonna say 100,000.
100,000. All right, Philip, above or below, or is he on target? And we'll say within a margin of error. You don't need to get the exact to the point.
Right. I'll say the number is below.
The number is below. Actually, 250,000 Marines in the Ultramarines at the start of the Horus Heresy. All right. Here's one. You may have actually had this next one. In what year did the 3rd edition box set of 40k come out?
Oh,
Bonus points if you can get the month, but I'm just looking for the year.
the year-based questions are the worst. You think something's recent and it isn't. Right.
3rd edition.
3rd edition box set. I'm gonna say it was summer of '98, so July '98. It almost always comes out just before summer holidays.
Okay, July 98. What do you think, Philip?
I'll say he's on point.
October 98. So that's
after the summer holidays.
I think that's in a margin of error. yeah, I'll say you both get points for that one.
All right.
Okay. So, if you go to GW's website, they have their press page that has here's all the great things that we do. We produce millions of minis every year, blah, 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 blah. They have a listing of how many stores you can find their models in across the world. I'm assuming this means all stores because I don't know if there are this many. I don't think there are this many Games Workshop stores. So I believe this is. So, how many stores can you find Games Workshop products in, or at least about how many? Again, we're going with the margin of error here.
20,000. I know something like 500 and something actual GW stores. I'm sure I remember them opening the 500th store.
Okay,
But,
would you
yeah,
say
I'm gonna
20,000? 20,000,
Globally.
Philip?
I'm gonna go with under again.
You're gonna go with under. That would be. There were only 5,000 stores. It said that seems really low. That's why for a second I was like,
There's
"Wait, is that?"
5,000 stores in the UK that sell it. Where'd they get their own information from?
That's where it says it. That again, this is on their press page.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so we're gonna get nerdy on this one.
All right.
In April 2022, the balance data site dropped that gave a whole bunch of units Armor of Contempt, which became everyone was now in contempt of
Angry.
Armor of Contempt, so it quickly became hated by almost everyone. So on the Facebook post that announced the data slate, you know how Facebook does the emojis that you can react to?
Yep.
How many people reacted to the post with the angry face emoji?
Oh, that's
Yes.
difficult to answer because that's everyone's in the fan base's default reaction to every game. It's got to be like several thousand, 3,000. I'm gonna say 3,000.
Philip?
Higher.
Higher?
He knows the community.
27.
Oh.
It was only
What?
27. There was
they
way
hadn't
more like
played it.
likes and everything.
That's why.
Huh?
They hadn't played.
They
the
hadn't
game with
played
stuff,
it yet,
that's
yeah.
why. They hadn't had to do the mental gymnastics required to implement the armor contempt rule. That's why.
Exactly. All right, 2 more questions here. So, I believe I heard about this on Floorhammer, but
Oh, don't.
when released, the Kill Team box Shadow Vaults. So we're using USD here, but it cost $185 on GW's website and sold out like immediately. Like everybody wanted this box. It's now like impossible to find, except you can find it on eBay. What is the most expensive listing for this box on eBay?
$185. Oh, someone's put it up there at $500 because they're an absolute a-hole.
Okay, Philip.
I'm going to say higher.
Woof. I like it.
It was $494.73. So I'm gonna say that's a margin of error.
Oh, God. Should have done prices right. I'm going to do $499.
Yeah.
All right, last question, and I went a little goofy on this one. So, however, let's start with Rich, because you've done this, you've played this game longer than I have. Explain to most of our audience, what is Forge World?
Forge World is a way to show off to your friends that you love the hobby more than they do. So it's oh my god, legally I have no idea, but it's a subsidiary of Games Workshop's manufacturing that made resin models. Then they made some plastics, then they didn't, then they did, and now they just make add-on stuff for the game system. And
it's all print to order, but it's all very expensive, or at least it can be. So
it's super expensive. Yeah, they've gone from being like, oh, that's pricey, but it's a nice little thing to have for your army as a centerpiece, to like, I ain't ever gonna be able to afford that.
All right, and for this one, we're gonna have you both guess an answer for this one. But on Forge World, the most expensive model. Do you know this one? Do you know what the most expensive model is? This isn't the question. I'm just curious.
It's the Warlord Titan complete kit.
It is the Tau Manta.
Just
barely. Just barely.
Is that the Warlord Titan without any of the stuff you actually need to use it?
I didn't know about. I was just going off a pure listing price.
But you got to add on the arms and the head. And all that.
But the Tau Manta costs $1,875.50, which I find the 50 cents part to be ridiculous.
That's the make or break. Really.
Like, I only had
149 cents.
I only had 1,875, but it's 50 cents. Jeez. So, because that's not depending on the time of year, that could be a decent investment. But if we took that amount of money and we converted it to gold, how many ounces of gold would you get? Like, how many ounces of gold does a Tau Manta cost?
Oh, jeez. I don't even know what the price of gold is.
Well, that's the kicker. If you did, you'd know the question.
Probably more expensive than...
I tried Bitcoin, but I figured that would be out the water.
Can I
Bitcoin, that would be decimal points.
We've modernized in the UK now.
You know what? I will do an ounces to grams for you.
Oh, please, don't. It's 113 grams is an ounce. They used to... Well, that's 4 ounces, sorry.
Oh, wait. Let me not doing it in the window that y'all can see.
But no, 28, we needed to know ounces to grams.
28.3, yeah. I don't know. 3 ounces of gold for that much money? I have no idea what gold's worth.
I'm going to say... this was years ago. I used to watch that show Gold Rush on Discovery. I'm gonna say you need maybe 7 ounces.
7 ounces.
Yeah.
So, Rich, what did you say again? Was it 3 ounces?
Three? I don't know. Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna go with 3 ounces.
Rich, you're closest, but it's not even an ounce of gold. It's 0.977 ounces of gold is a Tal
You're
Manta.
joking.
According
Oh wow, maybe Games Workshop isn't so expensive after all.
as of this morning,
Oh man.
like an ounce of gold is like $1,900.
Jeez.
At
All
least
right.
of the website, and I checked like 2 of them. So I was like, because you
That's
never,
good enough.
yeah.
You check. That's more than most people do when they state facts.
Yeah. Okay, how much does it cost to like rip the gold out of electronics?
Yeah.
Like anybody got some
bunch
gold
of stuff laying around here.
Anybody got
You
some
talked
gold
about
fillings?
that.
I got a Tal Manta to buy. Wait a minute, I got a high school class ring. That's like half one because
There you go.
that's not pure gold. All right, so thanks, Rich, for coming on the show. One last time, anything you wanna pitch, anything people should do to check out your stuff and keep track of anything new coming out.
I mean, yeah, if people want to follow me on social media, I'm on the various platforms under ROK Minis in some format. Whether it's an underscore or not, I've got no idea. Whatever the system forced me to do. But yeah, I'm on all the social media. That's where I usually put out any new releases and anything that I'm working on, so people can kind of see what's coming down the line.
All right, let's roll that. I'm gonna roll it here. Play the dang thing.
That's been our episode this night, guys. If you love what we're doing, you want to watch us live, you got to check out boardsandswords.com/live. That's got the schedule and the links to all of the streaming channels.
All right, send us feedback. We love it. Feedback at boardsandswords.com. You can find us on Facebook at Boards and Swords Pod. I'm on Instagram at Boards and Swords Chris, and then there's Twitter and stuff. Boardswords.com has links to everything else, like our Patreon. We didn't mention it because we figured you probably got tired of hearing me talk about balls. Check it out. Help support the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another show and hopefully working equipment. So, in the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and go print some minis. Or go check out ROK Minis and get it shipped.
Pay me to print them instead.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been great.
Good night, everybody. Rusty Beetle. Catchphrase!